Alright, welcome back to another episode of Smash Engineering. Today, we're working on a Kia. I don't think I've worked on this channel before, but it hit a pothole in the rear about a year ago and broke a rim. Just recently, the owner has started hearing which the owner is a family member, so it's not like I'm not social distancing here. I'm trying to help someone out, keep them from having to go to an actual shop where they're seeing a lot of other people. I've been isolated, as you've seen. I haven't dropped any more videos. We're trying to do like delivery service food and things like that as this thing is kind of calming down. It seems like it's getting better. I don't know if I'd call it better, but leveling off anyway. No death is, I can't consider any deaths better. But what we got here is a weird, I think maybe possibly a wheel bearing or maybe like a brake pad wobbled loose. I don't know what's going on. We're getting like a noise. As you drive. So I'm thinking it's probably a wheel bearing just due to the impact that it took. I'm thinking it possibly damaged the wheel bearing, and so I'm gonna go ahead and diagnose it right now. So when I do fix it, if your car is having this issue, and I don't know if it was because of the pothole hit, because the pothole hit was like maybe a year or more ago that it happened, so it could have, I guess, prematurely wore the bearing and let the bearing wear out faster. I'm sorry if my hair is all goofed. I'm not going out anywhere, so I just don't care. But thanks for tuning in, and let's get to it.
Okay, so first things first, obviously, we're going to take the tire off, and I apologize that I'm doing this in a voiceover fashion. There's a lot of wind, and I don't mean to diminish the quality of the video. I just want to make sure you can hear what I'm saying. So we're going to take the tire off. We're going to remove the caliper bracket, and brake pads. And before I remove all of it, I do spin it, and I recorded that so you guys can hear the noise that I'm talking about, and it does sound like a bearing the closer I get to it, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So I don't know if you'll be able to pick this up on the camera, but listen. Sorry, I'm aiming it at the shock here. I'm trying to get the speakers close to it. If you listen, you can hear it. Click, 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 click. Click, 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 click. Click, 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 click. So the caliper did seem like it's not returning back in all the way, but I'll have to check that later. The brake pads don't look terrible. But yeah, I'm hearing some noise in there. Here I'm checking the plug before I tear any of it apart. I want to make sure that the plug is right. I want to compare this one to that one, because whenever you order stuff on the internet, or even when you get it from a parts store, you never know if it got put in the wrong box, or if someone took it home, returned it, accidentally put it in the wrong box, or whatever. So it's always good to double check. Here I'm checking the threads, I'm checking the fitment on the rotor, just to make sure. Just double check everything before you get all that work. You get in there all the way and find out that, oh, I need a different wheel bearing and it's not going to be here for 7 to 10 days, and then you got a car in your driveway without a tire on it for 7 to 10 days. And not only that, but the car's out of commission. This wheel bearing is going bad, but it could still be driven on if you actually had to. So like I said, I didn't want to have it torn apart. So it's just a good idea to always check and double check and triple check just to make sure you got the right part before you start tearing into it. I find using an impact on these rear bolts that hold the hub assembly on is a lot better than trying to use like just a standard breaker bar. With the impact, you just feel less likely that you're going to break something. So, but this one comes off fairly easy, and I was actually impressed with with it coming apart. Now the heat shield, or I'm sorry, the dust shield, whole different monster. And if you see here in a minute, I actually take it into the shop to press that off because it was not coming off. It's a tad on the rusty side, but it's still structurally there. I just didn't want to damage it while pounding it off. It kind of welded itself. And here I'm gonna go ahead and torque down the, or tighten down the bolts by hand, and then I'm gonna look up their correct torque and torque them down. Now, if you don't torque them down and those 4 bolts come out, your tire will come off and it'll look something like that, but the crash will probably look worse. So, but I did notice, it looked like once I got the wheel bearing on there, there's these little retainer screws and they look like they were off-centered, but they weren't. I checked it with the old one here, and then I went ahead and checked it with the new one, the new rotor, before I went ahead and torqued it down. So that's why I'm sticking the rotor on there. I was trying to see if I had caught maybe an issue that I didn't see before I stuck it on, but that's why you always want to do that double check, triple check thing. So one thing I hadn't thought about was the fact that there's those little retainer screws, and they're probably not necessary. I know a lot of cars don't have them, but since they're part of the form and function of this vehicle, I wanted to make sure that I use them. So something I wanted to point out here is when you're getting your brake pads ready to put on, you get, 4 pads. Some cars have a squeal pad, and that's this little metal tab, and it's like a low pad indicator. It'll make your brakes start squealing when you got little to no pad left, and it's a warning for you to go get them serviced. So make sure you don't put both squeal pads. It probably would still work just fine, but don't put both squeal pads on the same side. Put one squeal pad on each side, or one pad with the warning indicator on each side. Now, these metal brackets that came with the brake pads, I did try to use them. They didn't seem to fit as snug or hold the pad as well as the OEM ones, which were on there. And the OEM ones, other than being dusty, dirty, stained, they were in perfect condition. They weren't like rotted or rusted or nothing like that. So I went ahead and ended up using the OEM ones because the fitment was just so much better. So you can use your own peace of mind there, and whether you want to use the aftermarket style ones or the ones that came with the car OEM. I didn't really see too much of an issue with the aftermarket ones. I just didn't like their fitment as well as I did the OEM ones, so I went ahead and used those. Also, one thing not to forget, do not forget to plug in your wheel speed sensor. It's located in a little cutout behind the wheel bearing itself. And also don't forget to unplug that before you try to pull the other one out. You will damage that plug, and it's pretty fragile. So and what you it'll probably work okay. Your anti-lock brakes would stop working. The wheel bearing itself wouldn't be affected by that, but your anti-lock brakes and other onboard sensors will cease to function, and you don't want lights popping up on the dash for something that could have been avoided. So just make sure you plug that back in. And of course, when you're done, make sure you wipe your greasy paw prints off the outside of the rim, because no one wants those on there when you return the car. So yeah, as you see here, I even shined it real nice. Yep. All right, I know. I put the intro at the end, so it's an outro. I know you probably thought, hey, we didn't have to watch that stupid Silverado go blasting through the mud with police sirens that the police car never shows up, and it's probably just an overlay. Well, it is just an overlay, and I did forget to put it at the beginning, so I figured I'd put it at the end just in case, you know, going without seeing that would cause you some kind of harm. I wanted to make sure that it was there for you, and I appreciate everyone who watches this, and I appreciate everyone who shares my videos. I know they're kind of all over the place. The channel will gain direction, I promise. The channel will gain direction. I'm in between moving from one house to another. I'm hoping to get a nice shop set up at the next house, and I'll actually start building dedicated things for the channel. I'll probably still do this kind of stuff because my family members, I don't like them getting ripped off, and I like to make sure that their things are safe. So if you like what you're seeing, throw a like up there, throw a subscribe on there for me, throw some comments in the comment section. I don't mind criticism, just you know, don't be too harsh, because no one likes too harsh of criticism. But I love you guys. I love what I'm seeing out here at the stores. I'm seeing people helping each other. I'm seeing the message of help a neighbor go so far. I just hope that we can all be part of the solution and less the part of the problem, I guess. And so thanks for watching, and have a great day.